Reflection and amplification attacks are another type of denial of service attacks that send a flood of protocol request packets to various IP hosts on a network. The idea is that the attacker will spoof the source of a target device. The host that receives these flooded packets, well, they're the devices that become the reflector. And so they're going to reflect or respond back to the unsuspecting target. And what happens? That device gets flooded with all of these responses to something that he didn't even ask for. Now, if that attack packet is soliciting a larger response, then not only is it a reflection attack, it's also an amplification attack. An example of that would be sending a very small DNS query, and that DNS query generates a large DNS response. Now, this could be in the form of a single attacker hitting a target, or it could be multiple reflectors. That would be an example of a distributed denial of service attack. And the really hard thing about these types of attacks is that they are not easy to track down. They're very difficult to trace because of the way that they are initiated. Let's take a look at an example here. This is known as the Smurf Attack. Now, this is an oldie but a goodie, but it's a good way for us to get an idea for how these reflection and amplification attacks work. Okay, so here's my attacker. This is the bad guy. And what he's going to do is he's got this weak 56K modem connection, and right now we would look at that and go, wow, that's nothing. And yeah, we know that because he doesn't really need a whole lot to send a ping packet. Here's what he's going to do. He is going to send that ICMP echo request to a network. He's going to send it to, in many cases, the directed broadcast address. Now, that's kind of key in this type of attack. It's the directed broadcast address. And so that packet makes its way through the internet. It goes into the network where that directed broadcast was sent, and it hits the network. It's a directed broadcast. All the machines that are on that network are going to reply back, and the source address was spoofed. The source is this poor little victim sitting down here, and all of a sudden, bang, all of these guys are replying back to him, and he's getting thousands of ICMP echo replies coming back. So again, you can see the problem here, right? This network is flooded, for one, and for two, this victim is all of a sudden fielding all of these responses for unsolicited ICMP messages. That's how easy it is to launch this type of an attack. Now, are we susceptible to this type of attack today? No, not really. What happens is we can mitigate that real easily on our Cisco routers by giving them the no IP directed broadcast command on the interface. It's not really an attack method anymore because that's the default configuration for Cisco routers. However, there are other reflection and amplification attacks that we've seen since then. So in March 2013, there was a DNS amplification attack that made it impossible to access certain websites. That particular DNS amplification attack generated 300 gigabits per second of attack traffic because it exploited DNS open recursive resolvers. Now, that's not the only amplification attack that we've seen. Reflection and amplification attack. We also saw one in February 2014. It was an NTP amplification attack. Well, what's the moral of the story here? The moral of the story is that reflection and amplification attacks are just another type of denial of service attack. It's another attack vector that we need to be aware of. It's one that's difficult to trace back to the real attacker because they're spoofing that source address, and the source address is actually the target of their attack.